Hello and welcome to Hexed Countered. My name's Joe. In this video, we'll be doing an update for the channel. So this is the channel update for September of 2023, and we're going to talk about the August metrics, just like I did last month, and I hope to make this kind of a monthly feature. But I also see it as an opportunity to talk about, the Wargame news as well. So I'll talk about some crowdfunding things, some things going on with Steam, for the computer game folks, and also, talk about what I'm doing this month, and that will continue on into the beginning of October, what my plans are for October as well, because, our next update will be mid-October, looking at September metrics, so I might as well talk about, what we'll be looking at going into that month. So without further ado, I am going to get right to it, and we're going to start talking about, the metrics. We'll start off by taking a look at the channel views for the month of August. And we got 14.5 thousand, but to be exact, it was 14,496, which is pretty close to 14.5. And that was 8% more than it was in July. So that's a nice uptick. I like that. Moving on to watch time. We had 1.7K, and that number was actually 1,749.2 hours, and in July it was 1686. So again, that's up. It's about the same, but it is up some, so that is also good news. Our subscribers went up by 143, which is a really good number in my opinion, 16% more than it was in July. I did some stuff in August that I think did pretty well, and we'll look at the video performance on an individual basis for August here in a moment. And I think that really fueled the growth, which has carried over some into September. So I think September's numbers will be pretty strong as well. Maybe not quite that strong, but my channel is essentially 18 months old now. And I'm at 1883 as I'm looking at my channel analytics. So 1883 subscribers, that's about 100 a month. And I don't know how sustainable that is, this being kind of a niche hobby, a niche subject here on YouTube. And there are plenty of other really capable content creators doing great stuff. So I'm glad that I've carved out a little bit of a corner for myself, and I'm at least I'm pleased with the progress thus far, and hope that it will continue to grow at a reasonable rate. And if you are a subscriber, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for your subscription and your support. It is always good to see that people enjoy what I'm doing. We have similar interests, I guess. That's always good. Now let's talk about the top 10 videos for the month of August. We'll start with number 10, and it was my first look video for the game Ardennes 2, which was done on August 18th, so it's a shade under 2 weeks left in the month, and it got 309 views. So that's pretty good, and you're not going to get any complaints out of me with that performance. And I did just do a gameplay video for that game, so if you haven't checked that out and are interested in it, that is Standard Combat Series, designed by Dean Essig. It's got some really nice new mechanics for the series that include Zoc bonds, so if you are a fan of Mark Simonich and the 4X series, where that concept was maybe, if not born, at least popularized. And it may have been born there too. I'm not really sure if that was something that Mark Simonich came up with himself, or if he adapted someone else's, mechanic. I honestly do not know. Number 9 was a video that's been around since May, and that is the Palestine solo playthrough for the game The British Way. So that is the coin multi-pack, Steven Ranganzis design, published by GMT. Really good game. It's a good entry point in my opinion if you are interested in learning the coin series, because it's kind of, I don't want to minimize it in any way, because it's really well researched, and it's a good solid game, and there are 4 games in the box, but it's a good kind of bite-size entry level kind of thing to get into Coin if you have not played it before and you want to learn it. At number 8, we have South Pacific, the first look for that game, which was done on August 2nd. That is Second World War at Sea from Avalanche Press. That was a game that I picked up with it has a decent price tag to it as well, I'm not going to lie. But it's a big game with a lot of scenarios. It covers the Solomon Islands campaign, essentially, in 42. And there's a lot of game in that box. A lot of game in that box. The sheer number of ship counters with with every ship that's at least a destroyer that was active in that campaign on both the Japanese side and the Allied side. There are some American ships, of course. There are also some Australian ships. There's some New Zealander or Kiwi forces, if you prefer, as well. There's a lot of game in that box. I did a couple of videos along after that covering the gameplay, both at the operational scale and as well as the tactical scale. 368 views for that one. Then we have Paths to Hell from the Warstorm series, the gameplay video. This is part of the platoon level tactical series that I've been doing. Just a brief note on that. I'm going to do a second round of those 4 series. The first 4, I'm calling it, which would be Warstorm series, Nations at War, Platoon Commander Deluxe, and Panzer Grenadier. So there'll be second entries on those. The Panzer Grenadier entry may actually be Infantry Attacks, which is the World War I version. I may branch out and do some other things. I might do maybe the Long Road for Platoon Commander. They're the same system. The Long Road bolts a couple extra things on there, but the core is the same. And Warstorm series, probably one of the Spanish Civil War games. And then Nations at War, there are a couple ways I can go with that. That's still kind of up in the air as to which game I'll do that one for the second look. But just to kind of show some of the flexibility theater-wise or time period-wise between those 4 games. I'll do a second round of the first 4 games, then maybe do a recap and kind of go over the high points of each one, detail, the mechanical differences and so on and so forth. Just kind of a comparison thing. That's the plan there. That video did 381 views. Next up at number 6, we have a game that's been around on the channel for a while. It was published on January 1st, New Year's Day. And that's my first look at Football Coach College Dynasty. This has been a consistently good performer for me, which tells me a lot about people being interested in sports games, especially on PC. That did 396 this past month, and it's like I said, it's been a strong performer. In July it did 448, so it's only down about 52. So you can tell that one is one that's got some legs, as you might say. And number 5, we have the other part of my Paths to Hell look. That would be the first look at that game from the Warstorm series. And that one did 428 views. So between the 2 Warstorm games, which came out or videos on that game, which came out on the 10th and the 16th respectively, we had 420 and 381 views, so about 800 total in the last 3 weeks of August. So I'm happy with that, and it shows that people are interested in the Warstorm series, and that's a good thing, because I think that is a good series. There's been some comments that I've seen about the counters being too busy or whatever, but I think everything in that game is pretty well done, to be honest. At number 4, Gina Willis's A Glorious Chance, the gameplay example for the U.S. side. So this is a solitaire game set in the War of 1812 that you can actually play as either the U.S. or the British. And I did I think 3 videos on that, a first look and then a gameplay example from both the US solo side and the British solo side, which if they're both from the playbook, and if you play both, you get basically a complete picture on the game mechanics, which is worthwhile. Very good game. If you're interested in a solid solitaire game that with a naval theme, it's good. I wouldn't say it's overly complex, but it's not simple either. So I feel like the gameplay examples, if you either play them out of the book or watch my videos, or maybe there's some other videos out there, you may that may clue you in on the way to attack that particular game. At number 3, and this game appears here at both 3 and 1, it is North Africa 41. So the gameplay example video for the game weighs in at number 3 with 556 views. A Glorious Chance gameplay was 542, if I did not mention that. So 556, 14 more, and this game was, or this video rather, was actually published on August 29th. In September, it has done 374 more. So again, that's a solid performer, and the first look was an even more solid performer. But yeah, North Africa 41, latest from Mark Simonich via GMT Games, the famous 4X series. This one's a little different. It does not include Zoc bonds, for one thing. It is based on an older game that Mark did probably 20 years ago or so, I think, if I remember correctly. And only covers the 41 campaign. So there are some things from when you think North African campaign, there are some things in there that may not be in there, and that's because didn't happen in the period covered by this particular game, which is, I think it's March or May through December of 41. I may be wrong. I don't have the game in front of me, and it's been a little bit since I've looked at it. But I can see this one being a series with maybe a North Africa 42 as a follow-up, kind of similar to what's going on with Salerno, where Salerno is actually going to be the entry point into a trilogy on the Italian campaign, which sounds really cool to me. And we'll talk a little bit more about Italian campaign games in a little bit, a little sneak, little teaser there for you. So North Africa 41 gameplay example, as I said, did 556 in August in just 3 days. Number 2 is the Border Reavers solo gameplay example, 558. So it edged out North Africa 41 by 2. That one came out or was published on August 12th. The video, that is. 558 views. This is a game from Ed Beach via GMT Games. And I'll be honest, it's got kind of a lesser known subject, being kind of the border fighting or raiding between Scotland and England in the 16th century. But it's fun. It's a fun game. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoyed that game, and I'll give it a definite recommend if you are interested in it. It can support up to 6 players, so that's cool. I mean, Ed Beach has done some really strong multiplayer games. And pulling in the number 1 spot, as I already kind of mentioned, is North Africa 41's First Look. This one was published on August 14th and did 1,158 views over the next 17 days of the month of August. Easily the number 1 video, more than twice as much as number 2. You could add number 2 and number 3 together, and it would not be as many as that First Look video. Obviously it's the 4X series, which is a popular long-running series. All the games in that series are well liked, good games. The system itself is fairly beloved. So I can see why it would be so popular. And honestly, even though it's a little bit different, it's definitely a worthy addition to that particular series. So that will do it for our look at the top 10 videos on Hexed Countered in the month of August. Now let's take a look at some wargaming news in terms of sales and crowdfunding and upcoming and all that good stuff. And we'll start off with the game Onus Under the Eagle. So this is currently in Kickstarter, and it's doing pretty well. I think it launched yesterday, and today being September 13th. So it launched yesterday. I think it was a 30-day campaign. It's already got 500 plus backers. It's 4 or 5 times above its goal. So doing well. So if you're not familiar with Onus, it's from Draco Ideas. It's kind of an Ancients system with some interesting mechanics and some pieces that give it almost a Euro-ish kind of aesthetic, I would say. But it's a cool system. And if you look at it, you can actually buy various things. So the Under the Eagle, if you're not familiar, this is based on Simon Scarrow's book series. I think there are 3 books in the series. And it is mentioned down here. Here he is right here. And he talks about why he did something for it. So Onus itself, before we get into this new expansion, started with some like Greek and basically like Greece and some Rome and Carthage things in the original game. And then Onus Trianus came out, and that added some more Roman Empire era things. So this one, obviously, Under the Eagle is also Roman themed, and it's based on the books, and the books take place during Vespasian's campaigns, and they're built around 2 main characters of Macro and Cato. So if you come to, Kickstarter and take a look at this, you can see you get kind of some new leaders and things that are based on the characters in the books. This would be for Vespasian right here, I believe. There are some videos, of course. And yeah, that is Vespasian. So you have Vitellius and Vespasian right here. Here's Macro and Cato. They're the 2 main characters. Then you also have Claudius and some other, more historical characters. You also have Caraticus here, and so some generic kind of Germanic and Celtic chiefs, etc., etc. So you have unit cards, leader markers, and like I said, this has somewhat of a Euro-ish kind of aesthetic to it, where it's not hex and counter. And I always feel there's a little bit of irony when I talk about a game and it's not hex and counter, because my channel is called Hexed Countered, but it is what it is. So anyway, you can get just the Under the Eagle expansion for 19 euros, as you can see right here. Supposed delivery or estimated delivery in March of 24. You can also buy it with the Trianus core game, which it's an expansion for Trianus, because Trianus and the actual original game are separate. They're both like standalone things, and you don't need the core, the base core game to get that, although you can get the base core game as well. There is an all-in, I believe, down here, and there's a good explanation of how the game phases work, the game turn, with activation, movement, ranged attack, skirmishers. This is very much a war game, but it has kind of a miniature thing with it too. You can see here using like rulers and things to check angles and distance and so on, and flight for archery and things like that. It's really pretty cool, and you can read the rule book here as well. But that's the first game I wanted to talk about. Now the next thing I wanted to talk about, it actually has not launched yet, and here it is. The 4th entry in the Old School Tactical series from Flying Pig Games. If you've watched my channel at all, you know I am a big fan of Flying Pig Games. And Old School Tactical is a great series. It is squad level tactical. This is a pretty cool project because it's the Italian theater. So there's that a mention again of the Italian theater. 43 to 45. And it brings the British, and mainly the British, because the expansion is for the Empire. So there's an expansion that is available as part of this as well. This Kickstarter actually launches on September 21st at noon Eastern. First 2 pledgers will be able to pick it up for $1. So if you can time your clicking correctly, you might be able to score this sucker for $1, which is a fantastic deal. But yeah, it brings the British forces in, so that in itself is interesting, and I'm sure there'll be Italians and Germans as well, and so it's going to cover. I'm not sure exactly which battles it'll cover, but I would expect there'll be Anzio and Cassino and maybe Salerno and all that stuff, but I don't know that for sure, so don't hold me to that. But yeah, it's an interesting looking game, and I am really looking forward to getting it. I will be backing it. I think I'll actually be traveling at noon Eastern on Thursday next week, so I probably won't get the dollar, which is kind of a bummer, but I am definitely willing to support Flying Pig Games and pay full price for this because I think this game is going to be fantastic. If you have played Old School Tactical, you can expect more of the same goodness. If you have not, and you do like squad level tactical, this is a great series. So that's the second thing I wanted to highlight here, and now we'll move on to the third one, which will be actually the final one. So again, September 21st, noon Eastern. If you're one of the first couple, you can score this guy for $1. So keep that in mind. So if you are a wargamer who plays wargames on the PC, I'm sure you know who Slytherin is, or Matrix. They used to kind of publish under Matrix as well, but they've kind of shifted everything to having Slytherin be kind of the more wargame arm of the company. And they have some, other publishers that they've included in this. Their Home of Wargamers 2023, that's going on this week. So there have been some events on their Twitch channel covering this. But here on Steam, we've got a sale going on a bunch of their stuff. So you can see that that 5 wargame publishers, Slytherin, Plug-in Digital, Avalon Digital, Hunted Cow, and Panzer Division Games have united to offer every wargame enthusiast a golden opportunity, dive into a treasure trove of popular wargame franchises, all available at substantial discounts. So that is part of this. And if we go to the sales page, you can see that there is a bunch of stuff. You can also see what's on my wish list and what I own. I do own this. I just don't own the Steam version of it. But you can see I have several of these games. I've done videos on several of these games. There are also some games that I would like to get. I may be picking this up. I don't know. We'll see. I do like the Avalon Digital stuff. I am a big fan of Slytherin stuff. We have Panzer Division Games over here. But there are a ton of games here. You can see there are a lot of games on sale covering World War II, World War I, Cold War, Civil War, or American Civil War rather, ancient and medieval, modern history, even fantasy. So plenty of things to look at. One of the things that I'm going to be doing kind of in conjunction with this is I'll be doing a look at the new DLC for the game Valor and Victory, which is called Kursk. And I will be doing that game, doing something with that here in the next couple of days, I think. At least that's the plan, pending, life issues or work or whatever. Whatever may come up that might throw my plans in the trash. But that's the plan. The plan is to do something with that and possibly something else from something on this list. Maybe something with Flashpoint Campaigns. That's an interesting game. Or maybe, just something else from this list, whether it's Strategic Command or Attack at Dawn, North Africa, or whatever. Just to kind of go hand in hand with this particular sale on Steam. So if you are a PC wargamer, this is a good chance, and you have Steam, obviously. This is a good chance to pick some stuff up. You can also go to the Slytherin website, and the sale prices are there as well if you are not a Steam user, because I know not everybody is. But this is, as I said, a pretty golden opportunity to get some stuff at a decent discount in some cases, depending on the age of the game. Some of the older games obviously will have larger discounts than some of the newer things, but there's the discounts on a whole bunch of stuff here. Now let's talk about what's coming up. So what's going on right now and what will be coming up over the next few weeks here. So recently in September, if you have not seen it yet, I did a first look of the game Silent War 2.0, which includes IJN 2.0. That is from Compass Games. That is basically a remake of an older game. They've done a lot of fixing on it. It is a somewhat complex game with a lot of moving pieces. I hesitate to say it's complex. It is certainly not simple, but there is a lot going on, so it may seem complex. But in my opinion, it's not that bad. I am going to try to do a gameplay video on that. I do have some travel coming up the next couple weeks, so I'm not sure how much I'll actually get done, which is why I wanted to kind of do this and talk about, what's coming up so you guys would have an idea. Pending, my travel situations here over the next couple of weeks. But as I said, I do have that Silent War 2.0 first look. I also provided an update on my plans for the Platoon level tactical series. That was done last week, and in a nutshell, I kind of talked about this already, but I'm going to do a second round of the games I already talked about, or the series I already talked about, rather. But I'm going to do a second round with other games from that series. So you will be probably seeing something from, I would guess, Infantry Attacks and probably The Long Road. Later on, there will also be something probably either Help Arrives or A las Barricadas from the Warstorm series, and something from Nations at War, or perhaps the original World at War series, from a while back when Mark Walker was still running Lock and Load. I might go back and look at, Eisenbach Gap, which was the game that actually started that whole World at War series off, with maybe Blood and Bridges or Death of the First Panzer or something like that as well. So, again, I kind of started to digress there, which I tend to do, and I apologize. Now, as far as what else, I've been doing some sports stuff. I did a first look at the newest edition of Deadball. That would be Masters of the Game, which is year 6 of Deadball from WM Akers, drive-through RPG. And you can pick it up there, and you can either buy the print version, or you can buy basically a print and play. You can get the PDF and play it yourself. Baseball game, really, really strong thematic element to that game. Mr. Akers is a writer, and he does an excellent job of creating kind of an environment and a universe for his Southern Circuit in both a current day version and a throwback to the eponymous Deadball era version as well. So the Masters of the Game edition adds finances and ownership and things, salaries, all kinds of stuff. It's really well done. Just like everything he does, it's just really, really well done. So check that out if you have not. That was published on September 5th. I'm also doing a series using the game Red, White, and Blue Racing from Play Games. That is a kind of NASCAR type stock car racing game. It's a whole load of fun. Even if you're not really a giant NASCAR fan, if you play this game, I'm pretty sure you're going to have a good time. It's a fun game. So I am doing the fictional series that Keith Avalone, he is the man behind Play Games, created a fictional series called Stock Car Racing America, or Scram for short, and he did a whole 1960s set with Jerry Minks, I think is the guy's name, who helped him with that. He's kind of a NASCAR history expert. So they put together a 1960s version, or a 1960 season, basically. So kind of old days of NASCAR, back when they were racing on dirt tracks, and the cars were, a whole smorgasbord of various makers and models and years, and they were not exactly mechanically as sound or as safe, for sure, as the cars they're driving today. But I'm doing a whole 10 race mini season for that game. So I don't expect that one will do great numbers all the way through. But for people who are into sports stuff and are into that particular game, you'll have 10 videos on that game to look at. And I may do a first look video at the new 75th anniversary special edition that Keith just published last week, which is based on NASCAR's 75th anniversary. This is the 75th season of NASCAR. And this set has drivers from Fireball Roberts from the very early days of racing all the way up to today's. stock car racing stars. So there are 75 drivers. There are some tracks. There is all kinds of goodness in there, and it's a really cool package. It's got larger cards than the regular game, and like I said, I'll do a first look on that just to kind of show the components. Keith's done one himself. It's on the play.com website if you want to check that out. So other things, going ahead, looking into the crystal ball for October. October means Tanktoberfest for Hexed Countered. We did it last year. We're doing it again. So we'll be doing some videos, thematically based around tanks. I'm not going to go into the specifics of what games I'm going to do, but there will be games with armor being the foremost theme. So there will be tanks. They will be throwing around, armor-piercing shells and HE and all kinds of stuff like that. Various genres and years or periods, etc., etc. So look forward to seeing some of that. I may also do something with the Yom Kippur War, the October War. I have a few games that touch on that conflict from Israeli history that I may want to do something with around the anniversary of that particular conflict. But so that's going to do it. I feel like I've babbled on way too long. I always want these to be relatively short, but since this was kind of a 2-for-1 deal with both the Wargame news and the channel update and the look ahead, it's almost a 3-for-1. So you're getting a whole lot of content for your money. But since it's free, I don't know that actually even applies, but it just was something funny that occurred to me. Anyway, thanks as always for watching. I really do appreciate it, especially those of you who stick around and listen to me babble on for a half hour or whatever it's been. That's always much appreciated, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that the stuff that's coming up will be something that you're interested in. There will be other sports things too. I don't have anything specific in mind, but I will be doing more sports content. That's part of my internal mission statement that I've given myself here, is to get more sports content up there in addition to my Wargame stuff. So I'm going to wrap up now. My name's Joe. This is the Hexed Countered channel. And as always, I want to wish everyone happy gaming.